solutions that will help their SMEs, the youth, and the women doing business in Ghana and Africa at large. For us to begin today's section, we are going to take a keynote address from one of the experts in the ecosystem who has been doing a lot to support young entrepreneurs in so many diverse ways. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our own Dr. Perfect, MFA Titiati, and she'll take care of us. We can do more than that.
The mic is not working.
Good morning once again.
Good morning.
It's a great honor to be here this morning as we discuss the heart of Africa, the economic future, which focuses on bridging infrastructure gaps to empower SMEs, women, young entrepreneurs for Africa's prosperity. Honored guests, esteemed panelists, distinguished entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen. Africa is a continent of untapped potential. Our youth are brimming with innovative ideas. Our women are leading transformative businesses, and our small and medium entrepreneurs are the backbone of our economy. Yes, despite this immense potential, many entrepreneurs are held back by one fundamental challenge: the lack of critical infrastructure. However, imagine a very young, brilliant woman in a rural Ghana who has mastered the art of fashion design, but struggles to get her product to the market because of bad roads. Imagine a vibrant fintech startup in Nigeria with groundbreaking solution, yet unable to scale because of unreliable internet and power supply. Think of a cassava farmer in Kenya producing high-quality raw materials but lacking the storage and processing infrastructure to manage post-harvest waste. These are not isolated cases. They represent everyday struggles of millions of entrepreneurs across Africa. Infrastructure is just more than roads, electricity, internet. It is the foundation of economic development. Without reliable infrastructure, access to market remains a big challenge. Digital transformation remains a dream, and access to finance becomes nearly impossible. But what are these infrastructures? We're talking about transportation and logistic challenges. Many SMEs, particularly those in rural areas, face poor road network, making it difficult to transport goods. This leads to increased costs and delays, reducing the competitiveness of African businesses in regional and global markets. There's also issue of energy efficiencies. There's limited digital and financial infrastructure. Despite African fintech boom, which we all witness, millions of entrepreneurs remain financially excluded due to lack of banking access. There's also a lot of issue of unstable internet connectivity. For the industrial and business hubs, many African entrepreneurs lack access to affordable industrial zones, co-working spaces, and incubation hubs that provide the necessary tools for their businesses to scale. But we strive to turn all our challenges into opportunity and win over them. For example, we are not helpless. There's a lot of good news. Kenya's smart logistics solution, startup like the lorry system that uses technology to make cargo transport more efficient and cost-effective, tackling supply chain inefficiency. We also have the One Digital Transformation, which is a government-backed initiative that has provided affordable internet access to businesses, increasing participation in global digital trade. We also have the Ghana Financial Inclusion Efforts, which is a mobile money platform that has how small businesses operate, providing access to credits, savings, transactions without the need for traditional banking, saving us time, minimizing on the queuing process that we usually experience during banking. There's also a renewable energy in Nigeria. Solar-powered businesses are emerging, reducing dependence on the unstable grid and offering sustainable energy resolution for SMEs. This solution proves that where there is vision, there is a way. However, we must scale up this effort and ensure that they are accessible to all entrepreneurs, especially those in the marginalized communities. And we have stakeholders who have a big role to play to bridge this gap. For example, as a government, we expect that there's an investment in the infrastructure development that prioritizes SME, such as the dedicating business hubs and reliable electricity for business growth. Then we also hope that they implement policies that facilitate easier access to funding for women and young entrepreneurs. For private sectors who are also stakeholders, we hope for collaboration with startups and SMEs to provide mentorship, funding, and shared workspaces that support business growth. Supporting public-private partnerships also bring innovative solutions to Africa's infrastructure challenges. And then we also have entrepreneurs and business leaders that also need to leverage on technology and innovation to find solutions despite infrastructural challenges, and also build strong business networks to advocate for better policies and improve access to resources. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a way, and Africa's economic future does not depend on charity or chance. It depends on our collective efforts to build strong, inclusive infrastructure that empowers businesses to thrive. We must push for policies of reforms that ensure that infrastructure is built for the people, by the people, and with the people. We must support initiatives that provide affordable and sustainable electricity, internet, and industrial spaces. We must empower women and youth by ensuring that they have access to the same opportunity as their counterparts in developed economies. This is just not about development. It is about unlocking the full potentials in Africa. The time to act is now. Let us work together as businesses, as governments, as investors, as entrepreneurs, so that we bridge this gap and create an Africa where every entrepreneur has the infrastructure to succeed. Thank you, and let's build Africa's prosperity together.
We have a distinguished panel of experts, and I believe that they are ready to share their insights on this topic. First on my list, we have Ambassador Charles Boachi. He's here, the CEO for African Youth Forum International. Can clap for him as a special speaker. We can do better than that. The more we clap, the more he gets energy to share the experience that I think for so many years with us. And collectively we find solutions. It seems like one of my roommates in university name is Charles. So all this while I thought this chance is Ambassador Carlos Washi. Let's give one round of applause. I know it's you as well. And today we are privileged to have government policy experts who has been supporting entrepreneurs for more than 8 years. And I believe that he's also going to make a significant contribution to today's discussion. He's very a busy man, but he always tries to make sure that any conversation that's here to support youth, he avails himself to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. David Ufori, Director of Innovation for National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. Next on our list, recently we passed the affirmative bill, and we have to make sure that women are represented. We've introduced our gentlemen. There's the need to make sure that the voices of women and young people are heard. So today we are blessed to have Ms. Akosia Osei, and she is a Business Development Officer. Let's welcome Akosia Osei. Akosia is not in yet, we can do better. And last, from our panelist, I have with me the CEO for the Future Ghana, Kezia Isidua Sani. Let's welcome Kezia. And on this beautiful gentlemen are going to do marvelous. I'm going to share so much insight on today's topic. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we wait for Kezia to take a seat, I'll be your moderator, and today I'm going to quiz them, but not examination quiz. We are looking at discussion that will help us find solutions to address infrastructure gap as well. And our discussion is going to focus on 4 areas. First, we need to understand the infrastructure gaps. Second, look at the women entrepreneurs and infrastructure challenges in context. Third, we look at the solution and best practices that we apply in different countries that we could integrate into Ghana and Africa. Then lastly, we look at the future goal or the call to action. What are the things that we are taking from here so that collectively we can push to make sure that the policy environments are favorable for young and women to do business in Ghana. So to begin with understanding the key infrastructure barriers that entrepreneurs face, my first question goes to Ambassador Carlos Wachi. So from your experience of working with young people across Africa, I know you have done so much work as far as Africa is concerned in different countries in this context. What are the biggest infrastructure challenges that faces when young people are trying to start and scale their business?
Thank you very much for such amazing questions. Let's be realistic and let's not talk theory. Right? There's a lot of engagement that have been going on at the government levels and at the national level.
We can barely.
Carlos, if you could position the microphone.
Okay.
Yes.
There have been a lot of series of engagement that have been going on at the international level, at the regional level, and at the national level. Now, the international bodies like the United Nations, African Union, and our government agencies, they have actually been promoting youth inclusivity. But here's the problem. Anytime that they pass a treaty, right, on how to engage young people, it's up to the member states to implement it, and that is where the biggest challenge is. In as much as we will talk about infrastructure, it will shock you when you know that if today I'm starting a business, let's say I focus on starting an IT company, right? Do you know that the money that I will pay as a youth is the same as somebody like Despite, who is also starting an IT company? So it tells you that like there's nothing like fair between the people that are already established and the people that are already starting. So then we ask ourselves, bills have been passed, but bills have not been passed, right? So So we come in as an international organization to see how we can speak with these member states and address these challenges. And that is what I've been also working on, and I'm trying to get the Parliament of Ghana to also see how we can actually pass a bill. Last year, I got the opportunity to meet with some of the parliamentary committees to see how we can actually push the bill. And the biggest challenge was even to get the parliamentarians to agree, because what they told me was that if it's within the party for them to pass, it's easy. But if it's an outside coming in to pass, that would be a big issue. And to me, that was unfair, right? Because we live in a state whereby the parliamentarians need to listen to the young people. But the voice of the young people are not even being heard. How many young people are represented in parliamentary affairs? Let me give you the data. According to the United Nations, there are 50% of the global population, North Africa, are young people, but only 2.5% of this population are represented in any parliamentary affairs. So, meaning that if we were to give young people opportunity for a whole year, young people's voice will only be heard for just 10 days out of the full year. Think about it. This is the reason why we are pushing for young people to be included in policy rooms, in cabinet, in governance. So, with that being solved, we will have a tough time for them to even implement any aspects in this infrastructure problem. And I'm not even talking about monetary-wise yet. These are policy-wise. Now, on the monetary-wise aspect, I think during the last program we had, I raised a very interesting question, and I think I need to speed up. And one of the issues we are facing on the continent, and I think member states are not telling you, your head state are really not telling you, is that Africa credit rating is poor on the international market. Imagine I was doing a trade program with the UK Trade Department, and to see how transparent Ghana is. Do you know that the entire country, they rated us as only, I think they rated us transparency around 20% in how transparent we are in doing business. Do you think somebody in the UK, after looking at those data, will want to come in and invest into young people here? No. So these are issues, and I'm very happy the AU is trying to set up a credit rating agency to fix these Western powers damaging the reputation of our investment opportunity. But if young people don't rise and fight for it, this problem will still continue, and we are pushing for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alex. So my next question, I'll take it from David. David, I know you've been supporting young people for more than 8 years. So many initiatives are taking place in making sure that we create an enable environment for young people to do business. And one of the key working documents that NIP has played a critical role is the Ghana Innovation and Startup Bill. This bill has so many components that seeks to make sure that young people doing business in Ghana and Africa are benefited. No, so many African countries, Nigeria, Kenya, Rwanda, Senegal, Tunisia, they all pass their startup bill. Can you help my audience understand some of the components that address the infrastructure and gaps that we are facing?
Thank you, brother. Thank you for all of you being here to listen to us. Yes, you refer to the Ghana Startup and Innovation Bill. That, I would say, that is one of the key vehicles. And what does it mean? It just means that as a country, if anybody who wants to dabble in the area of startup or innovation has a law passed in Parliament that protects the person. Currently, if you are doing business, what are the rules of engagement? Unless you yourself have the knowledge, the expertise, the resources to say, look, I'll have a lawyer, I'll have a document, maybe a non-disclosure agreement, a non-compete agreement, before I have conversation with anybody about my idea or my solution. Unless you have the resources to patent it yourself, there is no law that covers you comprehensively. Equally, for any investor to say, I want to take a chance on Kojomenu or Adramansa and invest something in your business, what if your business goes south? What protects that investment? There is no law at the moment that helps that investor to say, you know what, you took a risk on this person, she failed or he failed, but that's not the end of the life. There's a safety net here. So that document is really to spell out some of these benefit and why, as a young person, you should start going into entrepreneurship in the first place. There are incentives on taxes. There is a clearly defined who a startup is. And by the way, for the purpose of this discussion, a startup is not somebody starting a business. I think that we confuse that. That is why even companies like Apple are known as startups. Because a startup is any company who has technology driven and has the mindset to scale. So there's a difference between a startup and an SME. An SME just says that I'm doing business, I'm happy doing business in Cantonment or in Guadaso, and we've done it for 50 years. It works for us as a family, we are here. But a startup mindset is that I'm starting at Guadaso, but I want somebody in Zimbabwe to buy from me. I want somebody in New York to buy from me. So the mentality of scalability is key. And technology is what drives that. That is what makes the difference between startups. And so usually startups are disruptive. They come in and they disrupt the market. We've seen it with technology companies, whether it is Apple, whether it is WhatsApp, whether today we're talking about DeepSeek. All these come in to disrupt, and that's the beauty of startup. So once we define what a startup is, then we can find the solutions for them. Because I think the challenge we've had is that we treat startups as SMEs. And so we don't, once, if you have headache and the doctor diagnoses you as stomach ache, you get the wrong medication. So over the years, as a people, as a country, we see anybody starting, they say, oh, that's a startup. No, they're not a startup. You need to find and define their business and what the mindset of the business is. That is why startups are the ones who benefited from the Continental Free Trade Agreement, not SMEs. Because SMEs like to stay small and stay where they are. But startups want to go global, they want to go continental. So with that tone set, this bill is coming in to say, if you are a startup, what do you need? What can government support you with? What badge do you wear? Of course, we have to also be responsible to create, not to create room for people to just hide behind, oh, I'm a startup, and then they get the benefit. Meanwhile, they're doing something different. So it clearly spells out, and when we're done with this conversation, I would entreat you to visit the website, the GISB website. It's there, the document is there. It's an open document. We want everybody to read it so that you know that this is what we are pushing to Parliament. Now we have a new minister. We will have a new minister, so the new minister will have to apprise themselves with, but informally, they are aware. A lot of conversations have taken place, and I dare say that countries who have even had theirs passed, like Tunisia, you talk about Nigeria, Togo, Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, clearly you can see a pathway. Sometimes, some countries just have the law, they've passed it, but it's not implemented. Because there's also the risk of passing a law when you don't have a vehicle to implement it. Ghana has so many laws, but implementation is a problem. So we don't want this to become one of those things where we're just ticking a box. Oh, it's nice to have, we pass a startup act. And so what? What happens? How does a young person or any startup benefit from it? And permit me here, if you're not a young person, we don't want it to be like we are just young people by us. Anybody can be a startup. You can have a nice corporate life and decide that I want to do something on my own. That's also fine. Let's not be biased about, oh, you're too old to be a startup. Nobody is too old to be a startup, and nobody is too young to be a startup. Let's have that clear. So my organization, we're pushing that. In fact, we've had even meetings about it just last week. So that is something that we're not going to relent upon, because Ghana is highly rated continental-wise and even global-wise when it comes to the startup space. We are the most digitally literate country in West Africa. The Nigerians don't agree, but the data is there. They have the numbers, but per capita, Ghana is the most digitally literate country in West Africa. What that means is that there's opportunity for people to start business and to scale. Because once you use digital infrastructure and digital platforms, you can scale to wherever you want to go. I don't know if I'm allowed to double in the infrastructure bit, because some of the infrastructure that is currently battling us is connectivity. I availability and cost. So the cost of connectivity, because if I go over to the border in Togo, I should be able to still do business like I'm sitting in a crowd. So I know Ghana has an agreement, a roaming agreement with some of our West African neighbors where you can actually roam easily in those countries when you go there. I know the AFCTA is dealing with the regulatory bit, so that one is being done, is being tackled. But the cost of connectivity is critical, and also access to devices. How affordable are our devices? Most of us are holding smartphones, but you will agree that it's not cheap. If you're starting a business, these things can be very, very challenging. Access to even a tablet, where if you have a staff internally and a staff in Accra, you're able to give them small tablets so that they can gather data for you and all of that. So that is another critical cost. Then we're talking about, because we're saying SMEs, we're talking about even simple things like warehousing. If we are encouraging young people to go into agribusiness, not agriculture. There is agriculture and there's agribusiness. These two are very different. If we don't separate the two, we think that they're the same. Agriculture is different from agribusiness. So even in the area of agribusiness, where we are talking about processing, adding value, you want to turn cassava into cassava chips, you've got some nice idea about agriculture and it's a wild thing, you need warehousing. As a young starter in an SME zone, what money do you have to be able to have warehouses? So if we have a pool of warehouses, like we have carpool, if you have a warehouse that I can go in and just get 25 square meter space and store my things there, Adrian Massa will come, put their things there. That way, we're reducing the cost of doing business as an SME. So these are, for me, some of the few infrastructure gaps that we have. Also, we're looking at payment systems. So if you've successfully gone into, say, Zambia to do business, how do you get your money in Accra? The ease of doing that. You need payment systems that if someone purchases an item from you, even in Cote d'Ivoire, and they bought it from your Instagram page or your Facebook page, how do you get the money straight into your account without exorbitant charges? So payment systems are a critical part of infrastructure. The reason the Continental Union has struggled over the years is that we talk about free movement of goods and services, but where my money cannot go with me, I'm not going. That's why people can easily go to London or go to New York, because they think that their money can follow them there. Because me and my money cannot part ways. We are 5 and 6. So unless we have the infrastructure that can support the ease of moving money with you, then people are not going to Luanda. They are not going to Lesotho. They would rather go to the West, which is a real big thing for us. So that critical infrastructure of payment systems is very, very crucial. And I'm happy that Ghana, we're not doing so bad when it comes to fintech. So we're driving that. And I do hope that at some point, our mobile money platform will cover the continent. And I see that coming very soon. That will make it so easy for us to go anywhere with our money, and so we can do business anywhere on the continent. Thank you.
David has set a tune, along as Carlos as well. But during his contribution, one thing that drew my attention has to do with, when you look at the rent, the cost of rent in Accra here, a young person doing, you don't even have a place to stay. How much more we thinking of getting an office space? And one of the key things that we can collectively help is look at how can we come up with co-working space. You know, it could be a let's set up for you. You can do your business and pay what? Looking for the day. You are good to go. There's no need getting a fancy office with the whole capital and there's no money to do your business. These are some of the critical infrastructure gaps that collectively we need to identify and find solution to it. My next question goes to you know, one of the issues is that women are having the most pressing infrastructure challenges. And I believe that you've been in this space for so many years and most of the women you are engaged with. Can you help us identify some of the challenges they share with you and how can we address these challenges?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So First off, I'd want to tackle this question across because when it comes to business, the challenges that men face is similar to what women face. It's just that we have peculiar ones when it comes to like physical assault and all that. So David set the tone listing some infrastructure gaps that we have, and I want to tackle it from three angles. First off, I want to tackle it from skills and talent help. I'm starting with that because I also work in the talent development space. And I realized that we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about people starting their businesses, but the question is, are we ready to actually do the business? Because there have been some cases where there's capital, there are resources, but then the talent to handle these, to make the business work, is not able to. So that's a challenge I see across our continent. Even let's go beyond just SME startups. Sometimes in companies, I've been in the position hiring people, and you have talents come with very fancy CVs and very beautiful, presentations and all that through the virtual ways. But when you engage them first and you realize that there's a long way to go. So, so on that, there's a lot of work that we need to do as a country because David mentioned the difference between startups and SMEs. When you're running a startup, there's a mindset that goes with running a startup. It's not just about, I need funding. And maybe in the capacity to even consult for some tech startups. Sometimes I go like, you don't need funding because they are not ready for the funds. And if you've checked stats of businesses or startups in Ghana, you realize that there are always news of startups funding funds or they are not able to leverage the resources they are given. So I think as a country, that's something that we have to work on. As young people also endeavoring to start businesses, I think we need to work on ourselves because you can be given the funds, you can have the co-working space. For a matter of fact, there are a lot of co-working space in Ghana, but it's expensive because if you have to go and rent, they are charging you, say, 200 cedi per day. The question is, are you making money from the beginning to be paying 20 cedi per day to go and sit there and work? And one of the, before I move on to the next, this is just an advice, but if you're running a business or you're running a startup and you don't have a customer, I think you should look at ways to cut down costs. You don't always have to go through the laid down approach, if I should say so, that as a startup, you need to have an office, you need to hire a team, sometimes you might not be ready for a team because your product is not even ready, you are testing the market. So as a founder, you have to do the hard work of being the CEO, being the accountant, being the marketing person. So those are some avenues we can leverage to cut down costs and be able to build from ground up. Another challenge I think we face has to do with funding, yes, where sometimes you build your business to a point and being able to access funding is difficult. From the point of SMEs, most of the banks do not want to even give loans because it's high rates. Because here's the case where they are wondering, what's your collateral, what's your asset to stand? And you are running as a business that you need support. So these are avenues that women also need funding. And I think there's a lot of work that is also being done as to giving funds to women. Because in the space, I see that interventions come up and it's solely for women. So on that side, I think it's not biased and good work. Good work is being done from there. Another thing that I also see is I want to pick this from the point of people who run businesses that their goods are perishable. Our country, when it comes to power, electricity, it's a big issue. So I remember when we came, I was telling kids earlier, I wonder how companies like Blue Skies have been running for a long time. Because such a company needs like power 24/7. And it means cost of production is high. And so we need to set up infrastructures that support young people or entrepreneurs looking to build businesses in this capacity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your response is really drew my attention to the fact that access to electricity, at least there should be a disparity as to young entrepreneur and big business. When you go to the vendor, the amount is minimum has been given to you. If you buy 20 cents, get 20 cents. Is there a way that the young people doing business, you can support them in terms of the payment? At least so that it's easing the cost for the young people doing business. And as they grow, it's like taxing system. As your business grows, the more taxes pay. But as it's pattern, and you get me those taxes, honestly, it's very difficult for me to survive. I don't even have a space to sleep. How much more going to rent a office with 5,000, taking 2 years, 3 years? How much of capital was left with me for me to invest in the app business? David, do you want to make a point?
Yes, to the point about the source of power, the consistency and the cost of it. There is what you call the strategic economic zone. So I'm sure some of us are familiar with free zones. So the concept of free zones started, but globally we are moving on to strategic economic zones. And I remember years back, the World Bank tried to get Ghana to move towards the SEs, the strategic economic zones. So that is free zones plus more. So if you go to any free zones enclave, there's nothing like power outage. The whole Ghana can be off, but there will be power there. That is a rule. Free zones cannot have power outage. And years back, when we started the Accra Digital Center, that was a concept. That is the mindset. So that Ghana can have power outage, but the Accra Digital Center will always have power. And I'm proud we're able to do that. That if you run your business there, you can run business 24/7 and there will not be power outage. Yes, there will be power outage, but the infrastructure should be such that there are backups so that as a business person you don't suffer. If you are dealing with a client in Australia or New Zealand, you can tell them they have power outage. When we had the fiber cuts last year, people lost their jobs because their clients could not engage them because they couldn't get work done. So, as a young person, we cannot have a model where if you're buying a prepaid, they'll say, are you a startup or are you a family? But if you have your business in some of these strategic economic zones, it just means that the power being supplied to you, A, is subsidized, B, it's constant supply. So that it caters for the fact that if Ghana goes, if there's power outage out there, it doesn't. So the current free zones usually is for industries, but the SEs we're pushing to have co-working spaces like tech parks as part of that, so that you can have more of a Accra Digital Center kind of infrastructure where you have co-working spaces, you have small boardrooms, meeting rooms that young people can use. You can even have address subscription. I don't know if you are familiar with WeWork and places like that. It's an address you can subscribe to, so you can be Soju, but you have an address at, say, Accra Data Center for correspondence and for business, for your letterheads. Because there's also power in credibility. If you are in Soju and someone looks up on your house, Soju, they'll be thinking, am I sure? Is it going to be credible? Is my money safe? But if you are at a known address in a more strategic location, and your address says that way, if someone is trying to do business with you, it's easier. So that's just the point about addressing the cost of power and the accessibility kind of thing. We just need to have a lot more strategic economic zones that young businesses can take advantage of rather than trying to do business from their homes.
Thank you very much.
Can I add to what he's saying? But you know, David, I also realized that even the existing ones are expensive for young businesses. So I think that there's work that has to also be done on the side of affordability. Because for Accra Digital Center, the concept was wonderful. I work there, but it's expensive to rent. So I think a lot of work has to be done.
Yes, Akusia, when you come to the innovative solutions that we can go with it. Carlos, let me take one from Kezia. Don't forget, okay, hold on to that one. So Kezia, your organization focuses on future-ready solutions. So how can digital financial infrastructure empower your women in business?
Okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Kezia, and well, as a professional, I'm a lawyer, but I've been in the non-profit sector for over 8 years, running for the Future organization. And so what we do is to identify underprivileged children and empower them in education, in healthcare, even finding opportunities for them. And so I believe that even as non-profits and not being SMEs per se or generating profit, we also play a very critical role in the objectives of what AFTA is trying to do. And so for us, we are going to the grassroots. we are identifying children in slums, on the streets. We are getting opportunities for them in order to empower them to, at the end of the day, generate more, impact for attaining economic freedom and all of that. And so I believe that we also need support in order to do the work we do, even though I think now for non-profits, we also have to shift our focus a little bit from relying heavily on donors to give us money to do it. Because I feel like people get tired. Even for us, we have relied a lot on individuals to sponsor the kids, but sometimes you realize that it's not really going well. So we have to think out of the box to find other ways to, generate funds to do the work we do, which leads me to maybe social enterprises, right? So you have like a little business tied to what you're doing that's helping to generate funds to do the work you do. And that's why we are also very much aligned with things like digital literacy and having access to even opportunities out there for the kids to also even know that these things exist. Because trust me, there's someone in some area in Ghana that doesn't even know about any of these things, that doesn't even know about AFTA, doesn't even know what's going on. So for those of us that play this critical role, we are bringing them out to know how to go about, navigating these things. And then again, there are certain things that we as non-profits don't even know about when it comes to running our organizations, when it comes to even like compliance, right? So when I started my NGO, I was a teenager. And so at that time, I was kind of like learning on the job, trying this, trying that. But at the end of the day, when I finally registered the organization, going through law school, and now even learning certain things for myself. Like, for example, I don't think many people know that NGOs are supposed to get a special letter from like the GRA to actually recognize them as an NGO. And also NGOs need tax clearance in order to get our licenses. People don't even know that there's a social certificate that you need to get. And these are the kind of things that I believe that we need to, be educating ourselves about. And for example, recently we had this issue with GRA, and when they pile up all the penalties, then you have like a huge amount. We're like, we are a non-profit, how can we pay this amount? And now you have to be going to beg for waivers and all. So I would say that we need to really, think outside the box as non-profits to align ourselves with the goals of AFTA, and also to bring the whatever that we are trying to achieve together to those at the grassroots, and even for the purposes of empowering women as well. Our beneficiaries, most of them have their mothers being single mothers, are actually struggling, and we try to also empower them by giving them access to like little trade, letting them also be able to generate some funds to sustain themselves and their families and all of that, which I also believe that the AFTA is doing. So, for me, my perspective is that we should not be ignored as non-profits, because we are playing a very critical role, and so AFTA should, we should work together in order to achieve that goal that we are trying to get to.
One thing that I think most of women and youth entrepreneurs, we are not paying attention to is the structures that operate in the country. You made the mention of GRA getting tax clearance. Some of the projects accreditation, you need tax clearance. And if you don't know, and how when I needed it, the amount of money you have to pay for you to get tax clearance, it doesn't make sense to me in business. But if this information is available to the people, NCC are there to promote what is happening in the country. NGOs are there, different organizations, we are all there. It's for all of us, those of who understand the process, to share with others. To know these are the processes has to go through from A to Z. It's like recently when you're applying for passports, the moment you enter your information, it takes you to what? Schedule an appointment. As soon as you schedule an appointment, you go for that, you do your biometric. Then it takes you to what? Verification, screening, processing. It is ready. As soon as you're ready, you get an SMS. Can't we get a check like that with most of the institutions? So as soon as I pick that manual, I understand the process. When I come in, I know which offices to enter and which kind of question to ask as well. In practicality, most of us, when you go to the district assemblies, you don't even know which office to go and which challenge to you what get addressed, and which offices really address these challenges. These are some of the infrastructure gaps that collectively, I believe, if we put in place, it will help us find solutions and make business for young people and entrepreneurs easy as well. This, I have an, yes, Carlos, make that contribution.
Yeah, I'm going to make it very short because I'm somebody who runs an NGO and runs a company simultaneously. And I run a company with my foreign partner. And one of the headaches I faced was bringing in a foreign partner. We needed to pay $500,000 in order to bring a foreign partner on board. The government failed to give me money. I decided to go elsewhere to get the money, and now they are charging us $500,000 to pay
made mention so many models that are working for developing countries. For example, access to resource in terms of people in higher offices, making sure the scarcity is there. They might not be able to thrive here in Ghana. So what are some of the models that are working, or initiatives that you see that effectively can address infrastructure gap for SMEs? What are some of the initiatives that we can come up with, or you've seen elsewhere that are working for them to create infrastructure gap for SMEs?
Okay.
I'll pick it from Alosia.
Let's put my thoughts together by giving reason someone else. So, first off, I think from the point of regulation, there's a lot of work that needs to be done as to cutting the bureaucratic process of things. Because sometimes I feel like it's really not needed, especially if you have to run as a company. For instance, I work in the tech space, so when I'm on panels, I want to talk from them because that's where I'm invested in terms of knowledge. You've heard about Web3, you've heard about blockchain and everything, and the use cases of blockchain are very amazing. But in terms of in Ghana, if you want to go through that route as to leveraging on its benefits, it's a problem because it's not regulated. So if we even talk about cross-border transactions and all that, David mentioned that his money is 5 to 6. But if I have access to my stable coins or my USDTs or whatever, I can travel anywhere, right? But it's a problem here because it's not something that is regulated or really accepted in terms of usage, and there's a lot of scammers to it being not the real and all that. So I think that work needs to be done as to we cutting the bureaucratic processes when it comes to regulation and ensuring that simple procedures are taken to make sure that things work in the country. Because for instance, the startup bill, I've been on a panel where Ethel was talking about how they are started and blah, 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 and you realize that it starts somewhere. It's a matter of human problem, as my brother is saying. Everything we are talking about in this country is falls on systems, it's falls on people. Because when you talk about policies, it's people. There are people regulating these things. It's not like any machine anywhere. So we need to change as a people with regards to our mindset. Because when you go to other countries, the process of decision making is very rapid because people don't sit on innovative ideas, don't sit on innovative policies. They easily, make sure it works. But in our country, something will be sitting on someone's desk and we are waiting for somebody to sign. Meanwhile, it's a matter of let me read through and sign. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that end. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. I would appreciate that we can work within time. My attention will join that the mid program will start at 12:30. So we could make within 2 minutes. We'll take a final then. We'll ask for questions 5 minutes and we'll be good. Thank you. Yeah, so in order for us to save time and make sure that we get fully access to what is happening here today, I'll use the next 10 minutes. If you have questions, you kindly raise your hand. Okay, so. Can I go on the microphone? I would appreciate it if you would. We come forward so that you can save more time than going.
All right.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon to you. My name is Raphael from Raja City Realty. I'm a business entrepreneur with about 6 startups. And I'm very glad our panelists have dealt with the issues on the ground. It's very, very sad, honestly. And we need to take pragmatic solutions to solving these issues. My brother Carlos made mention of the fact that bureaucracy is a major challenge, and I can attest to this. I have a couple of friends who are building digital infrastructures, but just getting simple approval, from authorized organizations becomes a problem. This is a major challenge we face, and so we need to look into it. I want to ask them, what are their possible solutions to this? Thank you very much.
So I'll take the next question.
don't stress on financial literacy. Why do you have to go in for more funding when there's no sustainable growth to sustain us in how we will equip ourselves in handling finances? Then we always talk about calling on foreign agencies for them to come into our aid when deep down in our locality we struggle with finances. Then my other suggestions to the is in one. Yesterday and today I made a call regarding registration of an NGO which should support the company. Now, why should a youth or a young person coming out be paying approximately from 1,800 to 2,500 just to register an NGO in Ghana to support other youth, and also following the same process such as anyone starting a company, a profit company? So I don't know what the startup bill is also doing to find solutions to this. And if not for just yesterday, checking on GCYE, I won't have come across the 19-page draft of the bill they are talking about. So I don't know whether there's a campaign going around for the youth to know about the importance of this bill and how it will impact our life. I think we can all be ambassadors to this thing. Thank you very much.
Definitely, we are all ambassadors. So as we head today, make sure we share with other people so they can also share and realize all of us understand and push for it. Yes, I would like these two questions to handle and we'll take another two as well.
Yes, so I think we've identified mostly that many of these issues are systematic issues. And so I would even like to go directly to address the issue of, even starting up an NGO. I believe that the processes for doing certain things like this should be readily available, because people actually do come up to me every now and then asking, like, so what do I need to do to start an NGO? What kind of compliance, things do I need to do so that I'm not at the wrong side and all of that? And we need to, we need to cut down on certain things. For example, even in getting a social certificate, you need to get like a police clearance, and that police clearance can take you about a year, because three of the people that you're starting with, they need to come to your house to come and maybe look around, whatever, and then go back and bring you the report. And so that one is about a year, because the time that the person will go to this person's house, this person, like you don't even know when you're really going to hit the ground running. And so these kind of things need to be re-looked at, because it makes it very cumbersome. And I believe that it also even prevents people from wanting to do it anyway, because if you're making the process this tedious, then I'll just give up and I may be at the wrong side. And then at the end of the day, I'll have to be paying so many penalties to GRA. So in fact, I remember that GRA did mention to us that they intentionally do not even let us know. Like, can you imagine? They do not let us know that we need to know these things. Like, you have to get your tax clearance and all that in order to be run an NGO. People think, oh, NGO, they're tax exempt status, so I don't need to do that. So we need to help one another. For example, I came to sit here and I'm at least telling people about this that others do not even know. So we need to be helpful to one another. Sometimes people like to gatekeep. I don't think it's really necessary, especially in this space. So we need to get out of that, and as young people, help one another to succeed in this space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, that covers. Carlos, we are working really tight, so
listen, I am somebody who complains and also presents solutions, right? So this is what I've done. After I set up my NGO, first people that I wanted to get them on was the African Union, right? I was able to get the African Union. Now, in the next few months, we'll be hosting a youth dialogue with the African Union, and we are inviting all the youth ministers across Africa to South Africa. It's going to be hosted in Johannesburg in this coming March. And the whole idea is that we need them to be in the room to discuss. The good news is they have approved it. So we just need you people just to be there. Now, my biggest problem is most of you don't have the money to be there.
how are you going to help them get this?
So that is something I'm speaking with the government to make sure that we get it done. But trust me, the previous administration, I went to even meet the president and I didn't got the funds I need. That was how far I went. But let's see the new administration, if they approve it, because UNESCO South Africa have agreed to give $10,000 to invite some of their people to there. UNESCO Ghana, something else. Let's see. If it goes well, we'll be able to cover some of you to
Kindly go straight to the point, okay? So I take one from here. I will take three from here and I'll take two from here as well.
Alright, thank you. My name is Alex Tete, and I'm with the Ghana Chamber for Entrepreneurs with Disabilities. I manage over 2,000 SMEs established by persons with disabilities. My worry, and today I'm worried because the African Prosperity Dialogues have not considered persons with disabilities as part of the whole discussion. And I'm so much worried because when we talk about infrastructure, the people to worry are persons with disabilities. We build up infrastructures, both physical and whatever, without considering persons with disabilities. And I don't know how we would, because every discussion, every dialogue, every conference in Africa don't consider persons with disabilities. It's not so with the developed countries. Meanwhile, we want to develop and leaving persons with disabilities behind, and they become a burden on you. How do we scale them up? How do we support them so that they can be self-reliant? That's my question this morning.
I would appreciate on the follow-up question, what be some of the challenges identified and what are some of the solutions that we can able to tailor so that you can get addresses for us?
The point is we need to bring them on board to understand their challenges. Every disabled person has peculiar challenges. We have various categories of persons with disabilities. We have the blind, we have the physically disabled, we have persons with albinism, people with cerebral palsy and all that. We need to bring them on the table for discussion, and then they can also contribute and tell their challenges and prescribe solutions. So what I want to propose is that make a space for them and bring them on board.
I believe that inclusivity is very, very key. Carlos, I understand. Can you hold on with that one? Let me take a question from here. Let me pick up from here. I'll take it as well. Let me pick up from here. Can we go straight to the point?
Sure.
No Ben, okay.
Sure. I think when we're talking about entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs in Ghana or in Africa, there's a huge gap in trust and focus on the youth itself. A lot of leaders don't think that we should be involved when it comes to doing business. And I think a lot of that is rooted in culture. I think culture is really affecting how these sectors of the economy work. And it's like if you're a young person and you go and talk or say something like about funding, or they look at you like, who are you? Or like, how old are you? And I think that's something that we need to break. I don't know how it's going to be, but there needs to be a revolution in that. Besides that, also corruption and integrity is lacking in the sectors. We always point at the leaders, but you go and you want to register for a business, and the person that's in charge wants you to pay them or they're doing you a favor. And if we continue like that, there's no reason to sit down and talk about all these things when there's no integrity individually.
Thank you so much. I believe that this comment doesn't go to all the regulators, but we, the people that indeed regulators is. I'll pick another. Let me pick one from here. Let me pick one from the lady. Clear that one. I'll pick two additional ones, so let's see those who want to ask questions. Kindly go straight to the point.
I'm the co-founder of Converse for Africa. We educate, equip, and empower African youth across the continent through workforce development and business capacity building. I have a question for Carlos. You've worked across the continent. What best practices do you see for people who have actually developed the voice of youth well in different African countries? That's my question. Could you repeat it again? What countries have done well with including the voice of youth? Which countries?
Well, I think Uganda have done a great work when we compare a lot.
And the process, what's different from Ghana?
Right, so actually every year Uganda normally hosts a conference with the
Yes, the young lady's point about driving entrepreneurship among young people and not seeing them as they don't measure yet. And I share in your frustration in that. And trust me, a lot is being done in that. So that's why recently we thought about, we've heard about STEM education, but we drive that to STEM innovation. The idea is how do we drive innovation amongst high schools so that the entrepreneurship mind is nurtured from there. I'm a believer that we leave it too late or we hit tertiary or post-tertiary before we start thinking, oh, what do I do with my life? Let's start thinking even at high school so that before you even choose courses and modules at a tertiary level, you know why you're going for chemistry because you studied some bio you got that you need that extra knowledge to support that. You know why you're going to do electrical engineering because you studied something that you need that extra knowledge to do. So that is being driven very, very hard because the entrepreneurial mind is no respect of age. It can develop anywhere. So that's just to the point.
Easy, hold on for me. You can't forget. Let me read the next question. Yes.
My name is Kofi with Caris Agora. My question is, how do we bridge the SME gaps in such a way that it truly empowers the youth, rather than just creating policies? I'm not so much particular about we creating policies that, would come and meet foundational challenges that will still make the implementation a big challenge. So, some businesses are still struggling with the perfecting service delivery before chasing funding. And you realize that a lot of young people now want to start businesses because they want to go for funds. So they go for the funds, and what are they going to do with the funds? Because they cannot even deliver the services that we are expecting of them. And every young person wants to start up a business now. But when you travel to other countries, you see some of these young guys come together, form a team, and say that we are a team of 5. We are doing this thing. But is that what we are seeing here? Everybody wants to take the money and all those things. What happens is that all these developmental organizations that we are only going to end up discrediting ourselves because they give you the funds, they will come to a point in time. We are being honest. I'm not playing politics here. The developmental organizations don't want to give the government, most of them don't even want to give the government money again because the government is discredited. Now they want to channel the money through NGOs. It's going to come to a point in time, young people, they won't want to give us the money again because all we cared about is money. All we cared about, let's go for the funds. What systems are we putting in place for real capacity building so that when I'm receiving funds, I know that this funds is going to, why are you going for funds when you yourself, you are not able to run one particular service with just one client to be able to build some sort of capital for yourselves? What systems are we putting in place?
Yeah. The gentleman there, I think this side, talked about financial literacy. Sometimes, as young people, we like to go on trends or the hoo-ha, but we don't like to be honest with ourselves. We have to take responsibility. I've dealt with a number of young people over the last decade, and truthfully, we are sometimes very dishonest. We have to say that to ourselves so that we work from there. Even if you want to do partnership with your own young person, they are looking for ways to dupe you. They are looking for ways to rather create something on the side outside of what you're doing with them. So we don't want to go into partnerships. And you're right. This is a major thing and a major headache with the development partners, whether it is MasterCard, GIS, and all of that. We're getting sick and tired with what I call the startupreneurship, where people are just using that jargon. They go pitch for some money, buy the new car, and the next moment, just go entertain it because we don't even perform checks and balances on ourselves. And unless we are truthful to ourselves this way, the genuine ones amongst us will struggle because the bad nuts are mopping up what you come to the good ones. So I'm glad you raised this point because a lot of time when you say it, it's like, oh, you're not young person, you don't understand. No, it's the truth. We are quite dishonest. And someone talked about staffing. Companies these days are looking for struggling to employ people. There are vacancies, you hire people, and you can't even get them to stay 2 weeks. Because they're looking for ways to cut out corners, and if you don't allow them, the next one they don't come to work. Oh, we are weak, we are not our parents, and all of those things. But it's integrity. Integrity is no respecter of generation. truthfulness is no respecter of generation. It has to cut across. So just as we're making noise, quote unquote, to the elderly, we ourselves are doing the same.
Thank you. I just want to please allow me just one second.
It seems like
Let me be realistic.
Carlos, 1 minute.
Yeah.
If it is now, I'll get you.
I'm a living example of what you said. You know, in my team, I only have only 4 Ghanaians out of 20. Why? You try to recruit Africans, by the way, most of them are not Africans. You try to recruit Africans. Mind you, we have a big skill set problem. The skill set that requires us to scale our business, Africans lack it. I don't know the kind of education we have here, but it needs improvement. Trust me, it needs improvement. Aside that, our behavior, just as he's rightly said, our behavior is the key here. So until we change that mindset, until we change that skill set, that is where we build the businesses we want to do. And truly, nobody will want to fund you because in the next 10 years, they are not coming for youth. They are coming for other things. So now is the opportunity for you to tap in and benefit from it. Other than that, it's a cycle. Every 10 years it changes. Last year it was crypto, now youth, AI is taking over. Think about it. Wealth is transferring. So you will be always the topic. So now is the opportunity for you to take in and then tap in your riches. Thank you.
We are going to tap into that.
Can I add up? Can I add up?
Let me take 1 minute for kids here. I'll take one question. Can you make sure he's ready?
Okay.
It seems like the conversation gets interesting.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add up to what my lady asked. I mean, she's already left, but for me, I think we as young people, sometimes we start something, we already want to see it, skyrocketing and all of that. I believe that you need to start from where you are. You see, I feel like when you start from where you are and people are seeing the effort that you put in, then you get the deserving funding that you need. But if you are not doing anything to prove that even the little you have is working, no one wants to trust you with anything. So you need to put that out there so that at least your track record can help for someone to want to give you or invest in you. I think that's one thing that we are also lacking. We just want to start and see it big, but we need to just start.
And this reflects on the power of the talent, the little that we give in, how we will turn it around and so transcend to here. I picked one question from here. I will say I'll make you read your input after the question.
Okay, so
your question has. Let me take the next question. It will get to address. It's good that you drew my attention. The question that comes left and right, so sometimes it can be difficult to get to where the address. I remember it has to do with inclusivity. How can we include people with disabilities? I understand. Yes. Please, you can answer. Yeah, can go on.
So mine is not really a question, but it's sort of an additional, another to Mr. Alex Tetta's call for inclusivity. So I am Kennedy. I'm in charge of entrepreneurship and business development at the Aquarium Application Center. Okay. And I'm originally brain myself. Honestly, I'm listening to everything that is being said, especially by Senior Carlos, how realistic he's being and everything. And I'm getting a little demoralized. Because I'm wondering if even you who do not have a disability like me is going through all this, then how about me? I started a business myself. I've had 2 failed startups. The second one, the major problem was finance. I had the finance to begin. I got to a point I needed to push up. And I bought about 3 different financial institutions. Their refusal to give me support was because of their belief that my condition would not allow my business to receive a lot of patronage. So they'll not be able to recover whatever funds they might give me. So listening to you guys, I'm really, really getting sad because actually this year I'm planning on beginning another startup. But listening to everything that is going on, I'm feeling very sad, honestly. Very, very demoralized. I don't know whether even if there is any hope. Hope at all.
Hope is coming.
So I am actually calling, making a call to the effect that taking this particular thing
bridging the gap to empower youth young people in entrepreneurship and women. I mean, taking into consideration how women have been singled out, I suppose it's coming from a presumption of vulnerability attributable to the feminine gender. That, I believe, is also applicable to persons with disability who want to engage in business. So I pray to you guys that, I mean, whenever you're making these kind of conversations, you should take into consideration persons with disability as well, because holistically, we all have youth.
Yeah, I believe that your contribution have helped us understand the reality on ground. So going forward, when such initiatives are being taken place, much priority would be given to that. David, you want to add?
Yes, there is a dedicated program for persons living with disability. In fact, we even go to step further to look at women with disability and men with disability. At any IP, we do that, and it is just funds and program dedicated for persons with disability, because and as a people, we need to see ourselves as having one form of disability or the other, because disability is not just physical; it can be mental as well. And any mental health person will tell you that we all experience mental health in different degrees. It's a spectrum. You are either here or there. It's when you go extreme that you see people probably walking on the street. But even on a daily basis, there are some time in your day that your mental health drops. That's why people suffer depression and all of that. These are all forms of disability. So that when we come from that perspective, then we see that when we are doing things for persons with disability, it's for all of us. It is also for some group of people. So some countries by default treat disability that all of us have it. And because all of us have it, everything we are doing is for all of us. So from that perspective, we will now begin to have that in every conversation, everything we are designing and all of that. And Sarah, I share in your frustration, because it is a segment of people that when we're having conversation, we easily forget. And we forget that we are also in that same boat. Payment systems, digital systems, how well have you been factored in? Computers that people with, people who are visually impaired can use and all of that. So all of that plays a role. And I remember when I was starting the Aquatic Center, we were pushing for that so that even some of the co-working spaces have dedicated computers that people with visual impairment can use. So that when they come there and use the co-working space, they also have a space for them. So for me, I'm a firm believer that we all have a form of disability, we just don't know yet. And from that school of thought, we do things. The agency that I work with, like I said, we have a dedicated program for persons living with disability, both male and female, so that at the end of the day, if you want to also drive your business forward, you can speak to any IP on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think my next question from you. This can be go straight to the point. I would appreciate that.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. And I'm Dr. Fadil Mohammed. I just left medical school and I'm starting as a medical doctor. So my issue, what I want to ask about, or what I want to ask you is regarding the issue of family. I've always wondered, can't we have a system in Ghana here? I think listening from the first speaker, we realize that even the international bodies or in the international market, they have issues with us in terms of credibility to even investors. So I've always wondered, can't we have a form of system here where an individual has an idea, has a business idea, startup idea, you bring it up, then we among ourselves here, we listen to it, we discuss it, I have some money, I bring it on board, we listen to we discuss the plan and we take it from, all the way from the discussion to this execution, and I become part of the execution of it. So, major decisions that pertains to how the money is being spent, I get to be involved in it. But at the end of the day, the business is executed in such a way that it doesn't become like a one-man person who goes to bank for loan to run his business, and at the end of the day, take individual decision and you run it. You bump into some crash or something. Can't we have a form of system like that to operate? Where like all of us in the room, one person has an idea, you will contribute. All of us contribute both money and idea into the execution of the business. Right. And at the end of the day,
I think I really come in to help you out. Listen,
David.
We've not answered the question.
Yes, I wanted to answer.
So his specific question was that
Partnership area.
so there are two schools of thought. So sir, you can have what you call crowdfunding. There is that, and then there's also equity. The thing we don't do well is, I said to you as before, we don't trust each other. So because of that, we want to be me, and we have this notion that I want to be superior to the other person. That is what really is an opinions. You are better off having 1% of Apple company than 100% of the tomato tabletop shop, which is going nowhere. So you are better off being a part to something that is going somewhere through partnership. So either you use a crowdfunded where people come in and they are just sourcing money in a room here, and then it's like a church fellowship, and they just throw money at it, hoping that it works. Or you have the equity bit. The equity bit is that, look, I'm weak in accounting. You are good with figures. Come and join, and then you bring your accounting skills. And your accounting skills is valued. Don't tell people, oh, what money did you bring in? I brought my brains. So don't say somebody is good at selling it. They can just go by the street side and the next moment they're bringing 10 people. That is your skill. And you need to value that and say, look, because of that skill, join in as a partner, and that's your equity. So let's say the company is 100% shares. You use your brain and you get 10%. When we succeed, whatever revenue that comes, 10% is yours. Once we go on this model and identify that we are inadequate as a person, you don't have all the skill sets. Don't think that you can be the CEO, HR, everything. That is a wrong notion, because weak governance, we are talking about government, but in business too, there's governance. And if your governance structures are weak, then that means that you've already set yourself out to fail. Thank you.
I think we have one pending question that has to do with inclusivity, people with disability in such engagement. How can we bring them on board so they can also contribute collectively? Questions in this.
I mean, the inclusivity bit is what I talked about, that as a people, we need to see ourselves that we all have a form of disability. It may not have shown up yet, because mental health is also part of disability. And so, once we begin to see that, we are inclusive in everything that we're designing, whether it's someone entering a room, or someone crossing the street, or because we see ourselves as us and them. And so we think that when we talk about persons living with disability, it's not me, it's somebody else. But it is us too. All it takes is one morning you are getting up from the bed and you can't walk, and that's it. So it has to be, but it's good that on this platform we're even talking about, because even the awareness is important, and I'm sure, sir, you appreciate that. At least we're talking about it in this room without fear or favor.
So, can I? Or I should still hold my peace. I think you're not being fair to me. So I just wanted to say that the missing currency is trust. Because what my brother is saying is being done in the States. But here you can't do it, because you can't trust people. You will be trustworthy to commit your money, but the question is, will the business be sustained? Or will someone willing to do the same for you? And that's something that is missing in our transaction with the conversation that we are having cut across. On the issue of skills development, I all the more see that we have a mindset problem as young people. Excuse my language. I mean, I work in the talent development space. My organization, we train young talent in tech. And there are opportunities because, again, a lot of international bodies are looking to give back through education, through skills development, even trying to get people to build their product through hackathons and all that. But we don't have the people because it's either they're looking for the quickest way to make the money. So they start the program 3 to 6 months incubation and they are nowhere to be found. And then they come and say, we need funding. Where's the funding coming from? Because one of the most sustainable ways as a young entrepreneur to build your product as a tech person is through incubation programs. There are companies that started through incubation and they are having money now because they got mentorship, they had people holding their hands. It was not just about they going to pitch for funding. Because if you go again, you are not, I mean, what do you have to even prove for people to give you the money? But if you are through a program, you know it's a phase. They give you the money, you build a part, they see that your business is scalable, they keep moving. So I think as young people, we need to change our perspective as to how we see things. And the lady mentioned about how maybe they don't see us as worthy enough to receive funding. It's because I feel like we don't also present ourselves mature enough for certain funding. Because at various stages, people wouldn't just throw money to you. Nobody gives free money. even for an NGO, nobody gives you free money. There's actually a form of unspoken exchange where the people give you the money. It's a two-way affair. So up until we set ourselves in a way that, we are worthy of whatever money we need, whatever training we need, I think we'll just keep going circles in conversations like this. Thank you.
Yes, please kindly go ahead with the question.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a question.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity. So, my name is Ngadi, and I want to speak on the issue of gender. So, to put what Akuze said, when it comes to business, both men and women have same challenges, but women are more peculiar. And I feel that may not necessarily be right, because we don't usually focus on the peculiar issues of men as well. And if you look at, I feel like by ignoring the peculiar issues of men as well, maybe you are just doing a service to this current generation of men and also young boys who come. Because if you look at the current trend with young men who are unemployed, most of them are going into gambling, especially betting. They are using their school fees, they are using company funds and stuff like that. There was also recently an issue of some young boys who had to sacrifice one of their boys for rituals and all of that.
LSA,
Pardon?
I would appreciate if you can go straight to the question or contributions to that list, we can make headway.
Sure. So basically, my point is that over recent years, there's been so much focus on providing social interventions for women. But I feel, what do you think about also starting social interventions for men specifically?
Yeah. Yes.
I think they are.
Let me take the next question.
Specifically for men?
Yes, they are.
There's
a company in Nigeria that trains solely men.
Yeah, that's Nigeria.
And even for Ghana, excuse me to say, it might look like things are biased on the sense of women, because I think our father here said that because they see women to be more vulnerable, and there have been a lot of spoken issues about women, that's why it's like that.
Nobody speaks about the issues of men.
Yeah, off stage I can talk, it's not to go away from it, but what I'm trying to say is every opportunity out there is for both men and women. It just happens that women have more opportunities tailored to them, not to say men do not have those opportunities. If you have more thoughts, we can talk after.
Sure.
So I'll take my next question. I have two here, one, two. This can go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Ivo Zanisa from Anglos. Okay. You said Africa is great network, but we don't let the foreigner talk. I don't know why. It's not fair. Yes, because we are foreign and we met a lot of difficult some things here, You said that you can go for funds, and maybe they said that they will give you example $5,000, you understand? And the $5,000, can you imagine that before to start, they will tell you to pay working penny or something? It's $1,500. Can you imagine? $1,500. And before to start the business, you have to pay $1,500 to open the business. How much they needed to open the business?
3,500.
Is it fair?
That money is gone.
It's gone, but it's true, it's the reality. Because the foreigner, we are here, no one listens to us. But this is not fair, you understand? Like this
Carlos, this is Carlos.
So yeah, he said that he's working with foreign people. But did you ask them how they struggle to survive? How they work with you, know that? You don't know. Because I'm going to work with them, I'm working with the organization. I'm going to work with them. Before to work with them, I have to pay, it's per year. Per year, you have to pay $1,500. Can you imagine how much they pay me first for my salary? And I have to pay $1,500 just for the work, before to start the work. And I have to pay $200 for ID national card. The ID card you pay $300. Me, I have to pay $200. Do you know that? No.
You're not telling me.
That's how you know. No, you didn't know and you don't want me to talk. You see? So you see, it's very, very sad. Sometimes it's Africa when they say ECOWAS. ECOWAS. I know that they have this ECOWAS they are talking about every day, everywhere. It's not working. It's nothing. It's for nothing. Maybe because the people they give them money, they chop the money, but it's not for us. Don't think it's for us. You have said that before to start your business, you said that you pay 1,800 Ghana cedis. This is Ghana cedis. Me, I have to pay 1,500 Ghana cedis in dollars. Can you imagine? And this is for the working permit. Before to start the work, I have to pay $1,500. I have to pay ID card and $200. This is how much? Almost 4,000. I'm going to 4,000. And I'm stuck. Yeah. It's gone. I said, if I want to go to school, no, I'm coming. If I want to go to school,
You still want to go to school?
no. I came there when I came to Ghana first. I wanted to go to school. You understand? And I went to school. When I read there, I asked the price of the school. How much is the school? They said that for the Ghanaian people, because you are Ghanaian, you have to pay 20,000 Ghana cedis. Can you imagine me? I pay how much? $7,000. You know that I give per year. Did you know that per year? And I have to do 2 years of the masters. 14,000. You see now, and you don't want to eat to talk. So you have to think about that. Because you say Africa is for Africa, so it's for everybody. You understand? And I'm not alone. There are a lot of people, foreign outside. Because when you say we are building a development country, it's for everybody. Another person, the Ghanaian people, they are outside working for people. But me too, if I'm here, you have to consider me. Because I'm paying my tax, I pay. But you have to think that you reduce the price. You have to talk about that.
Thank you so much. We have all these infrastructure apps and we're leaving. Oh, we are sorry for that. Now we understand the reality and find ways of making sure we address it. I'll pick my next question. Or any other person might want to hear. Carlos, I'll come to you. I'll pick yes. Kindly go straight to the point, then I'll pick you next.
Okay, will it be okay I start? Now, I'm not asking a question yet. I'm about to make a contribution. Now, if you check in this room, it's a room filled up with young persons who are vision driven. But the conversation we have been having looks like the conversation they have in the parliament where people sleep. We have been blaming the government and talking about government policies for actions that we should be taking as young people. The problems we have in Africa is not peculiar to Africans and Africans alone. The problems we have as Africans in business is the same problems that business owners outside the countries face. You can wake up one morning and one government policy will crumble your entire business. But what do you do as a business person or as a business owner to scale this? That is where flexibility of skill comes to play. And then you now come as a business person. The only conversation we are having here, we are talking about funding, we are talking about partnership, we are talking about when the first work to be done on the scale of looking for capitals for business, number 1 to 5, there's no money on it. The first capital you need for business is your integrity. And most people lack it. Most people lack it. So if you must trade for us, let's leave the government policies alone. And let's deal with your own level of flexibility. And please, when we talk to an audience more than one, the audience is up to 10 persons we are talking to. Please, sugarcoat your words with some level of hope. Now we left this person with disabilities, leaving them to some levels that even us that have abilities are facing. And now he is down. My plea is that when you talk to people, please coat it with some level of hope. And the last level of capital you need is money. I built an app, okay? I built an app on social network. The app I own and run presently is called GoTrust.ng, and I came all the way from Nigeria to represent my brand. And this app was built on social network. I got to meet a friend that is a developer. I told him this is what I want to build. I want to build an on-demand app where people can order for cleaners online. I started to read resumes of people, and I saw people with degree signing up as cleaners because we glorified the job, and it's now doable, and people earn money. So what you need to do is find a problem, make the labor dignified, and people will do it. What happened to Uber? Uber is just a glorified conductor. What does the conductor do? The conductor stands on the body of the car and orders for people to onboard. What Uber does is a digital conductor. It just helps you to find a passenger who is going to a particular direction, and you stay in your AC car and
Let me just a clarification. I think we did speak a lot about these things. We gave some solutions, and I think he even spoke about an initiative where disabled people can join, and how we are all we all have disabilities and all of that. And I also spoke about starting from where you are and not necessarily thinking of big funding and all of that. So I think these things have been spoken about. Just
thank you so much, Kizia, and our wonderful audience. You've done so much.